Hey, welcome to my channel. I'm Rob, and in this video I'm going to give you 5 tips for choosing a name for your brand or project. The video is going to be split into 2 sections. In the first section I'll go through each of the 5 tips with a little bit of detail, and in the second section we'll get a bit more practical and we will go through the whole process to choose a name for this channel. So stay tuned for that, and without further ado, let's dive into the 5 tips. So let's start with tip number 1, which is to generate a mind map. A mind map, you might know them as brainstorms. They're just a really good way of connecting ideas together and getting ideas out onto the page. They sort of look like an octopus, and ideas can spring off from other ideas, and that's how you sort of start connecting the dots and generating unique combinations of names. And it's one of the first tools that I always go to generate new names. So I'll go into it in more detail when we get into the practical side of the video. But that is tip number 1, to generate a mind map. Tip number 2 is to make it memorable. If you're creating a brand, you might be a new business, you might be a YouTube channel, and you want people to remember you. You want to make it easy for them to remember you. And there are some tips that we can go through to help do this. Things like keeping it short and simple, using alliteration, making it fun and snappy. All of these elements go together to help make a name memorable. Again, we'll go through this in more detail in the practical side of the video, but that is tip number 2, make it memorable. Tip number 3 is to make it relevant or not. I'll talk about the or not in a second, but the first part, to make it relevant, is a simple idea. If you're a knitting specialist, for example, and you want to create a shop or a YouTube channel, and your name was Nora, you might want to call it Knitting with Nora. Same if you've got a magic shop that's aimed at mums that want to do magic for the kids, you might call it Magic for Mums or Magic with Mums, or something like that. What this does is it gives your viewers or your customers an education on who you are and what you do straight up front. So there's very little guessing about what your brand is. And the second part of this is the not relevant. And what I mean by this is, some companies use made up words, like Xerox, the Zoopla, it's a property brand in the UK. There's also things like Moonpig, where they combine 2 unrelated words, put them together to create something unique and memorable. And it's also a great tip for tip number 2. If you want to create something unique, combining 2 unrelated words together can help do that. I used to work at a company called Toxic Fox, and that was the principle of the original name, was to use a word like toxic and a word like fox, put them together, and you've got something that's short, snappy, and memorable. Maybe not the best connotations for that particular company name, but that's a different story. So yeah, if you want to make it relevant, which I think would apply to most of us, then yeah, use something relevant to what you're doing in your name. If you want to go the other direction, you could either create a made-up name, or you can combine different words together to create something unique. So that was tip number 3, make it relevant. Tip number 4 is to make it easy to spell and to say. You want to try and make your brand name as foolproof as possible, so that when people go to the computers to type in your brand name, they're not going to misspell it. You also want to make it easy to say, so that it doesn't get misinterpreted. I've worked at companies where, when you say the name over the phone, the person on the other end of the phone will say, was that an F or was that an S? So you want to try and remove any of that, and that will just relieve a lot of future pain. If you can avoid that kind of thing, you should. Obviously, there will be instances where your name might have an unusual spelling and you might have to explain it a little bit, but if you can explain it simply in a memorable way, then you should be okay. But if you can try to avoid as much of that as possible, that is going to help you in the future, in the long run. A, it will give you less pain, and B, people will be able to find you a lot easier and have less problems. So tip number 4, make it easy to spell and to say. And finally, tip number 5 is to make sure your name is available. What I mean by this is that if there's a particular web address that you want, before settling on your brand name, you want to make sure that it's available. You know, if you want the .com, make sure that it's there. Same goes with the social media channels. You want to check all the major social media channels like Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, to make sure that the handle that you want is available before you settle on your brand name. On socials especially, you want to make sure that you can stay consistent across the different social channels, so that when you're communicating or asking people to follow you, you can say followers on all the socials at your brand name. And this will just make life, again, a lot easier in the long run. I will be going through the full process that I use to check the website and the social channels in the practical side of the video. If there's a name that I like, we'll do that towards the end. So stay tuned for that. But for now, that was tip number 5, is to make sure your name is available. So now we get into the practical side of the video. I'm going to go through all 5 tips. We'll start with the mind map, where I'm going to physically draw onto the pen display so you can see how I go about making my mind map. And along the way, we will go through each of the 5 tips that you can then apply to trying to choose a brand name for yourself. So let's get to it. There may be some portions of this video where I skip through, well, not skip through, but speed through, just so I don't bore you, essentially. But let's start the process. So we're going to, oh, that's not a good start, is it? We're going to come up with a YouTube channel name. So how I start off my mind maps is, you put the subject in the center, give it a nice circle, and then you want to start coming up with any words that you want to associate with this name. So I might ask the question, what is this YouTube channel about? And as we've already started on this video, it's about branding. And one of the things that I want to achieve with this channel is to help people build their own brands, make an income. We're not focusing on creating huge multinational global brands. They might turn into that eventually, but for now, I'm focusing on people that just want to make a comfortable living at home by building their own brands. So branding is one of the main trees that I want to go down. There'll also be practical projects like this one. So I want to take you through, if you want to learn how to do a particular thing, then I think practical projects is something that I want to help delve into. One of the areas is income. As I just discussed, I want to help people make an income by doing what they love and building their own brand. And this is something that I'm doing myself as well. So got branding, projects, income. I want this to be educational, so I'll put educational down there as another main strand. Educational. And then once you've started to get a couple of good main strands of your idea, it could be anything that's relevant to your brand. Like I mentioned before with the knitting example, it could be one of these strands might be knitting, one of these strands might be teaching, educational. If you want it to be entertaining, I'm going to put entertaining because I do sort of want it to be mostly educational, but I don't want to bore people, so I want it to be entertaining as well. So I'll put that in there. So when it comes to branding, we're talking about design, we're talking about identity, and the idea is any words, whether they are any ideas, whether they're good or seemingly bad ideas, just put them down on this page, and it will clear your head and make room for new ideas to spring up. So identity, income, obviously we're talking about money, and how the hell do I make money? So the how is a big thing. Educational, and again, these are words that you think of when you think of the word educational. What do I think of? I think of school. School, I think of lesson, that might be tutorial. Projects, I might think about process. And when I think about process, I might think about steps. What are the steps that I need to complete the project? We're going to be talking about starting projects, but more importantly, we're going to be talking about finishing projects. And this is an area that I personally struggle with. Finishing a project, I'm brilliant at starting projects. I've started tons of projects, but where I struggle is seeing them through. So that's one of the reasons I'm starting this channel, is some of the projects that I've started in the past I want to revive, because I've got some good ideas, and I just need to see them through. And I think this channel will help me give some accountability to see me through, and so I can create something tangible with those ideas, and make some income. Right now I freelance, so it's full-time freelance, and I want to start to make some passive income, so that I've got different streams of income coming in, and I don't have to rely solely on one. So one of the things I want to do is start to build a passive income, and that's another reason for this YouTube channel. Maybe hopefully eventually I might be able to start to make a little bit of money from it, that will just help to my overall income. So let's get back to it. Entertaining. When I think of entertaining, I think fun, funny. I'm not the funniest guy in the world, but there might be a joke here and there. I'm quite my friends and family know me as being quite dry when it comes to humor. Sometimes they don't know whether I'm joking or not, and I can tell you that most of the time I am joking, even if it doesn't seem like it. So identify. I put identify there. That should be identity. So we come to identity. You think of personality, and these are all ideas that we will then start to connect to, maybe try and come up with a unique name for this YouTube channel. Even now, you're starting to, when we're talking about making it memorable, so let's put a memorable up here. We can, alliteration is a great way to make something memorable. And already over here, we've got school and we've got starting. So, we could do something like startup school. Startup school. I can probably guarantee that this has already been taken, but it's good to get the idea out on the page anyway. As I mentioned, I constantly start new projects. Um, you could say that I'm a serial starter, so that could be another name, serial starter. A lot of the content will be aimed at generalists. So, I'm a multidisciplined illustrator, designer, character design. I also play a bit of music, so I'm multidisciplined. Um, so I'm going to write multidiscipline there because a lot of the things that we will do on this channel will be, will be very practical, and you'll have to do a lot of things on your own. There will come times when you might want to outsource some particular things, um, but a lot of it you can do on your own, and we'll be going through that. So multidisciplined. Um, I'm quite a generalist when it comes to creativity. I can do, from animation to photography. Um, I've got a good foundation in quite a lot of different disciplines. Um, Not a master by all means, but certainly a good level in quite a few different ones. So generalist, um, and an idea might be, you know, for a name, creative generalist, or the creative generalist. Um, Thinking about the target audience, it's a little bit meh. It doesn't have the punchiness that I probably want, but again, it's an idea that we can put on the page. Um, Income, creative, creative income. Again, we're just connecting different ideas together at the minute. I'm sorry if you can hear the bin men outside, but it is bin day, and it's very important. So multidiscipline, money, creative income, how, um, how creative. Again, these are the obvious combinations that are probably already taken. So don't get too hung up if you check these and they're not available, because a lot of these won't be. Words that we think of, comedy. I'm not a comedian. I'm not going to go down that route because um, I'm not that funny. Let's be honest. The process of progress. I'll just put a note of connecting these things together. It's a little bit boring. It's a bit long. I'm trying to keep the number of characters down, so that it's short enough. And I can imagine it being quite, maybe a little bit of a tongue twister, the progress of process. Finishing, which would be success. Steps to success. That's obviously going to be taken. There's lots of personal development brands out there. Someone's going to have steps to success, and it's not really that it's relevant, but it doesn't give you a really good idea. It's not specific enough to the brand or the channel that I'm trying to create. We've got a serial starter. That could be a potential or serial startup. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that are good at starting projects, and even better at not finishing them, like myself. So the serial starter, and it's kind of fun, like serial killer. People might get fused with breakfast cereal. Like it might be thought of as a food channel who has cereal for starter, for instance. The creative generalist. It's a clean name, but it's quite long and a little bit boring. And when it comes to think about some of the content of the videos, we're going to come across challenges. So I'm going to put in this section, I'm going to add challenges. I'm sort of writing on the side here, but challenges, and then when you think of challenges, roadblocks, barriers, but then we'll be coming up with solutions to these barriers. So solutions we'll put in here, and then solutions, steps. Have we got any other S's? School of Solution, Startup Solutions. Again, these are very businessy, not very creative. So if we think about some of the other content, we might do interviews. So let's just put interviews down here. So I might end up eventually getting some people, that have started their own brands that are doing quite well, and they can sort of impart their own wisdom. So interviews. And we'll be doing real world projects as well. So I'm going to put real up here. So I will be, like I mentioned earlier, reviving some of the brands that I started in the past. Then I get shiny object syndrome. So I'll start something and I'll get a certain way, and then I'll get another idea, and then I'll start that, and then it's kind of one of the reasons that I'm starting this channel, a new project. But it's one that I think will help me with the other projects that I've started to get them to a certain point where they can start, maybe bringing in some income. I'll be pre-recording these. Might end up doing some live streams. There'll be real projects, and they'll be practical as well. So let's talking about small. We're going to start off small, so we're going to build it up from being small. Build, just certain blocks, build it block by block or brick by brick. Brick by brick. We've got the BR here as well. So the BR, and the branding with the BR, we could do something like brand by brick. That could be an interesting name. Brand by brick. So there's a potential name there. So I might want to try out checking out the names for brand by brick. Maybe the creative generalist. It sounds a little bit more educational. It's worth just checking whether it's available or not. What else have we got? We have Startup School. That's not going to be available. Serial Starter. I quite like the fun take on the serial killer. I'm a bit of a horror fan myself, so the Serial Starter could be a fun one. But again, we've got that issue with there are two different ways to spell cereal. It could be interpreted as breakfast cereal. We'll check it anyway. If it's available, cool. And specialist, brand by brick, the creative generalist. Okay, so one of the other techniques you can do, let's just bring this into full screen right now. So one of the other things that you can do to come up with ideas is to see what other channels are doing with the names, and that might spark some ideas. So think about channels that you watch or brands that you like. Figure out, is there anything that they're doing that you could do? So I listen to, some conspiracy theorist podcasts and stuff. I'm not a huge conspiracy theorist myself. I just find it quite entertaining. But one of the best podcasts out there for weird stuff and horror and true crime and stuff like that is the last podcast on the left. And what they do really well with their name is they've taken inspiration, obviously, from the last house on the left. So what I might do is see if there are any fun names, because I want to make it fun. I don't want to make it boring, and I want to make it something that I want to work on as well. So it has to spark my interest as well as doing all the things that we've mentioned. Being memorable, being relevant, and all that kind of stuff. So what I'm going to do is, let's go back to the screen now. I'm going to head over to Google. I've got some tabs open ready for a bit later, but I'm going to search for top horror films. Okay, let's go to the top 100. And we'll just start looking at some of these horror film names. Get Out, The Babadook. I think the name has to be known enough. So The Babadook, great film. The Brandadook, no, it wouldn't work, and I don't think it's well known enough to work, basically. So let the right one in. It Follows, Freaks, Night of the Living Dead. And what we want to try and do is maybe try and find something that rhymes with brand.
So One Cut Off the Dead, no. The Cabin in the Woods, no. The Witch.
Brand Me to Hell, that could be interesting. Brand Me to Hell. So what I'll do is I'll just take a note of, in fact, if I create I'll do it up here. Brand Me to Hell. I remember watching Drag Me to Hell at the cinema, and although it is hilarious, there were quite some jumpy moments, especially with the big speakers and everything in the cinema. Good film though.
Carry the Loved Ones, The Love Witch Room, It Comes at Night, Zombieland, you can do Zombie Brand, Don't Breathe, The Endless Upgrade, Frankenweenie, Let Me In, Devil's Candy, Hush, Brand Tomahawk now, The Descent Chronicle, Battle Chat Possum, The Autopsy of Jane Doe. Let's just go through some of these. House of the Devil, You're Next, Night of the Apocalypse, Kill List.
Land of the Dead, Brand of the Dead, that could be pretty cool. It's a little bit out there, but I quite like it. If you think about a potential tagline, what we're doing, because I talked about reviving some of my old brands. Brand of the Dead, we could be bringing those brands to life. So it fits quite nicely actually, and it's got, it's quite memorable, easy to spell, easy to say. So that is definitely a contender. Happy Death Day, Happy Brand Day, Happy Brand Day. So I'll just note that down. Happy Brand Day.
World War Z, World War Brand now. Roaring Black, The Daybreakers, Brand Death.
We're not talking about Brand Death, although, Brand of the Dead is sort of talking about death, but I think with that tagline of reviving the brands, or what did I say? Bringing brands to life. then I think that could work. Brand of the Dead, but brand death just feels like you're killing a brand.
The Hallow, Insidious, Robert Predators, Dead Snow, Evil Dead, Evil Brand, The Little Stranger, The Little Brand.
Sorry, I've got a couple, and I really like Brand of the Dead. That is, like I say, it's a little bit out there, but branding is about making yourself different and unique. And I don't think there'll be many, if any, channels out there that brand themselves. If they're, if they're a branding channel or a design channel, there's probably none out there that brand themselves like this. It's quite outrageous. It's a little bit different. So I think something like this could really work. Some of my other, I'm a big Bruce Lee fan as well. So we can think of some of his films: Enter the Dragon, Enter the Brand. That's quite a fun one too. I quite like that. Bringing the fury to the brand. I don't know, but it's quite fun. So what I think I'm going to do, now we've got some ideas. I'm going to narrow it down to a couple. I quite like Enter the Brand. If that's available, the Game of Brand is pretty cool. Brand of Fury, I quite like. Way of the Brand, I quite. The Big Brand, we're not going for big brands yet, so I'll leave that one out. Brand of Fury, I quite like that. Brand by Brick, I like that. So what we will do is we will create a new list and we'll go through them one at a time. We've got the Creative Generalist, Brand Me to Hell, Brand of the Dead, Brand by Brick. Again, we've got the alliteration with the BR and the BR there, so that's pretty cool. Enter the Brand, Way of the Brand, Brand of Fury, Game of Brand, Serial Starter was the other one. So we've got a list. So the next thing to do would be we can try to eliminate some. Game of Brand. I'm not sure about Game of Brand. Although, it could be quite cool, but it doesn't zing for me. It doesn't spark anything for me. So we're going to get rid of that. Serial Starter. I quite like that because we've got the alliteration. Again, we might come into problems with misspelling of cereal. Brand of Fury, that's pretty cool. There's no alliteration in there, but I think it would be difficult to misspell. Way of the Brand, same. Enter the Brand, same. They're all good for the spelling. They're all relatively well-known films. Way of the Brand, way of anything is quite heavily used anyway. Brand Me to Hell, I quite like that. Brand of the Dead, that's taken from Land of the Dead. That's pretty cool. And the Creative Generalist is it's a little bit boring. Again, it doesn't spark anything for me. General is a very boring word, so we're going to scrap that. Let's move on to the next step. What we're going to do is, my first stop is always GoDaddy. I've already got GoDaddy up, and we're going to check for the .coms because I always like to get a .com I've always got in my head, what if it could one day be a global brand? I could go for the .co.uk, and I usually do buy the .co.uk along with the .com. This is a YouTube channel as well, so it's going to be international, and that's one thing you've got to think about as well, is international websites. You're going to want to go for .com if you can get it. So let's type in brandmetotell.com, and it's available. So I'm just going to put a little star next to that, or I'll put a little tick saying that it's available. Let's check brand of the, make sure you type it right as well, that's important, brandofthedead.com is available. 2 for 2. We'll do brand by brick. Available. We're on a streak. Enter the brand. This would be a cool one for me personally. Enter the brand.com. No, it's taken. Never mind. So if we can't get the .com, let's scrub that one out. I want the .com. That's my personal choice. So if we don't have the .com, I'd rather find something that did. Wave the brand. So I'll do way of the brand. Taken. Again, people like the Bruce Lee. Brand of Fury. Brandoffury.com. Available. So that's quite cool. And Serial Starter. Serialstarter.com is available. So we've got five available. So what we want to do now maybe is check. In fact, we might narrow these down. So Serial Starter, I like it. However, it's not very specific. So it's not specific enough for for what I'm trying to do. I don't think. What are you starting? Am I starting a football club? Am I starting Tiddlywinks team? It doesn't. It's not specific enough. A long way of saying it. So I'm going to get rid of Serial Starter. Brand of Fury. That's kind of cool. I think if we think about what the tagline might be, bring fury to your brands, or yeah, I'm struggling with that. But it's still quite a cool name. Brand by Brick. Again, it's a little bit boring for me if I'm completely honest. Brand by Brick. People might think that my name is Brick. I think it's a name. I think I've heard that name before. So I don't want people to get confused about the name. Is it a brick? Will they connect brick by brick with brand by brick? I don't know. And my name's Rob. I don't want people to get confused. So yeah, I'm gonna scrap that one. Brand me to hell. Or Brand of the Dead. I quite like Brand of the Dead because you can have the tagline something like bringing brands to life. And that's what we're doing. We're giving life to brands. So I do like that one, and it's quite unique. It's a little bit outrageous, but that's what makes it memorable. And there's the film to tie it to, Land of the Dead, which again, inspired by the last podcast on the left, taking their inspiration. Their content is more relevant to horror and that kind of thing, but I think this could work. Brand Me to Hell. Out of the two, I prefer Brand of the Dead. So let's get rid of that. So it's Brand of Fury or Brand Me to Hell, Brand of the Dead. I think Brand of the Dead is stronger, to be honest. If I'm thinking about how I'm going to present the brand and the channel, I think Brand of the Dead is going to be easier for me to present, and I think people will get it a lot quicker than Brand of Fury. It's going to have a nod to the horror film Brand of the Dead, but it's going to be all about bringing brands to life. So with that said, hang on, let's go to the big one. My name up to now is Brand of the Dead, but what I need to do now, I know the .com's available. I now need to go and check if the socials are available before I settle on this name, because I might end up going to something like Brand of Fury or Brand Me to Hell if I can't get the socials. So let's do it. So the three socials that I'm concerned about, or four currently, is Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok. So Instagram, basically what you do on Instagram is you type in instagram.com/whatever you want the brand name to be. So instagram.com/brand of the dead. And if it says, sorry, this page isn't available, means that the name is available. So that's a good start. So I'd be able to register Brand of the Dead right now. Let's go to facebook.com, and when you're talking about Facebook pages, we're doing the same thing, Brand of the Dead. In fact, I will copy Brand of the Dead so I don't have to type it in every time. This page isn't available. Another good one. Same with Twitter, /Brand of the Dead. This account doesn't exist. 3 for 3. Now the last one is TikTok. I'm not too concerned about TikTok. I've never used it before, but I know it's a big platform and I might use it in the future. So let's check. And with TikTok, you put the @ after the /. Brand of the Dead. Couldn't find this account. So we have a brand name with the .com available. Let's just check the .co.uk because I'll probably have that as well available. Instagram available, Facebook available, Twitter available, and TikTok available. I'll obviously sleep on it, but for now the brand is called Brand of the Dead. And we can have a tagline of something like bringing brands to life. And there we have it, Brand of the Dead. One more thing to note is to take your time and not to rush through this process. Work through each stage of the process. You're going to live with this brand for a long time, and you don't want to be rebranding every couple of weeks, because people are going to have to relearn who you are if you do that. So mark off the 5 steps as you work through them, and have fun doing it as well. A brand is more than just a name. So don't take too much time that it hinders the progress of your brand or your project, but you want to make sure that the basics are checked and it's a name that you like. So yeah, have fun doing it. So I hope that was useful for you. We now have a brand name for this channel. This channel is going to be called Brand of the Dead. We went through the 5 steps as we were trying to figure out this name. So step 1 was make a mind map. We did that. We went through some ideas and then we got rid of the ones that we didn't like. Step 2 was make it memorable. So what I did for step 2 was take inspiration from film titles, and we came across Land of the Dead, which is one of the George A. Romero zombie films. Instead of Land of the Dead, we went with Brand of the Dead. It's quite memorable. The step 3 was make it relevant. We've got the word brand in there, and with the tagline as well, it's going to be bringing brands to life. So it's relevant. You get what the brand is about, kind of. You know kind of what to expect when you're going in there. It's what was step 4. Step 4 was make it easy to spell and to say. So Brand of the Dead, I don't think there's many ways that you could misspell Brand of the Dead, and it's easy to say Brand of the Dead. It rolls off the tongue quite nicely, so don't think it'll be misinterpreted. So that ticks that box. And tip number 5 was make sure that it's available, and the .com, the Twitter, the Instagram, the Facebook and the TikTok were available, so the big check mark there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to register each one of those. I'm going to register the .com and the .co.uk, and I'm going to register the socials. So that is the video. I'll be now referring to the channel as Brand of the Dead. So officially welcome to Brand of the Dead. Before I forget, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more of this kind of content, if you're trying to build your own brand and want to know some practical tips on how to go about doing it, and if you want to see Brand of the Dead grow from nothing, then please subscribe and hit the notification bell. The next video, I'm thinking we might start thinking about the logo. So we'll be going through the whole ideas process and design of logo. So there'll be some practical tips in there too. So yeah, like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you.